Someone said that frickin' Panera's Pepsi's taste funny.
Better.
No, I mean,
What?
Hello, everyone. Adam and Ilea here from the AI Analysis Podcast. We've been asked to guest host the Average Intelligence Podcast once again, and we're here to analyze their 5 most popular episodes of all time.
Yeah, it's a really great opportunity, actually. We get to unpack some of the discussions from the Average Intelligence show that really got people talking. So we'll be looking at, what made these specific conversations hit home, any predictions that, looking back, were surprisingly on the money, and definitely their boldest hot takes.
Right. You've given us a pretty hefty stack of material covering these 5 episodes. So our job today, basically, is to pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising facts from each one.
Yeah.
Give you a good understanding without, drowning you in information.
Exactly. Think of us as your guides through all this. We'll highlight the important bits, connect the dots a little so you can see not just what they talked about, but maybe why it struck a chord.
Okay, let's get started then. First up is, well, it sounds like a big one, Average Intelligence Election Day coverage.
Oh, yeah. This wasn't just like a standard show. It was almost 6 hours long.
6 hours. Wow.
I know, right? That alone tells you something. It was clearly a major event for them and for their audience, too.
So what made it stand out apart from the sheer length?
Well, apparently it pulled in the most live views they'd ever had. So huge immediate popularity, very relevant, obviously.
Makes sense for election night.
And the hosts, they were constantly interacting with the live comments, like nonstop.
So not just talking at the audience, but really engaging with them.
Precisely. It made it super dynamic, like a running conversation. Now, anyone who has ever tuned into live election night coverage knows it can be a whirlwind of conflicting reports, rapidly shifting numbers, and just a profound sense of uncertainty.
Definitely. It's chaos.
What truly stands out, though, is how the Average Intelligence hosts navigated this chaos, often challenging conventional wisdom right from the outset. They began their discussion with a particularly sharp observation about why standard polling methods might struggle, especially, when dealing with unconventional or polarizing candidates.
Yeah. What immediately strikes me as insightful is their early grasp of a crucial blind spot. A blind spot that often plagues traditional polling models, actually.
Oh, okay.
They specifically honed in on the unique challenge of predicting voter behavior for figures like Donald Trump in this instance.
Right.
The core insight they articulated was this concept of low-propensity voters.
Low propensity.
Yeah. These aren't your typical consistently engaged voters. These are individuals who usually don't participate in elections or, at least not regularly, but they become powerfully mobilized by specific candidates or particular political moments. One of the hosts articulated it simply, yet I think profoundly. Trump attracts people that don't normally vote.
Simple enough.
Right. And this goes far beyond the usual demographic targeting of likely and registered voters that pollsters tend to rely on, and it creates this significant potential gap in their data.
That's a powerful distinction. And they offered a vivid, almost granular example that really drives this point home, the Amish community.
Oh, yeah, that was fascinating.
The hosts noted the Amish are now voting. They literally are voting Trump, and they're all voting Trump. Now, for anyone unfamiliar, the Amish are a distinct, pretty insular community, typically characterized by a strong disengagement from mainstream politics.
Right. Not usually on the political radar at all.
Exactly. So their participation, especially en masse for a specific candidate, is highly unusual and, frankly, something traditional pollsters would almost certainly overlook.
Definitely.
The implication here is profound. By understanding this tendency for low-propensity voters, and in this case, a truly unconventional segment of them to show up for an unconventional candidate, the Average Intelligence hosts were equipped to make a far more nuanced and ultimately accurate prediction than traditional polling models.
Which, frequently fail to capture the true sentiment or intent of these non-traditional voters.
Yeah.
It absolutely underscores the value of looking beyond just surface-level conventional polling data and really digging into the underlying behavioral dynamics of an electorate.
Exactly right. It's not just about who says the vote in a poll, but who actually shows up on the day and why they show up.
Crucial difference.
Precisely. And this specific demographic insight, like the Amish example, coupled with their broader understanding of candidate appeal, allowed them to anticipate that Trump would likely consistently outperform his poll numbers.
Okay.
It wasn't about the polling data being somehow overcorrected in Trump's favor, that narrative you sometimes hear. Rather, it was about the very foundation of how these polls were constructed, missing a substantial segment of the voting population that a candidate like Trump could uniquely activate.
Yeah. This deep understanding of unconventional voter turnout served as the bedrock, really, for their remarkably accurate predictions that unfolded live on air. They saw a deeper current, kind of invisible to many, flowing beneath the surface.
And what a cascade of predictions followed. As the live results began to pour in, it was almost uncanny how closely they aligned with the average intelligence host's initial hunches. They started calling out significant shifts in key states, anticipating trends that would ultimately lead to a larger outcome that was unforeseen by many.
Yeah, they were right on it.
For instance, they noted an early but crucial movement in Pennsylvania, stating, Trump just pulled ahead big in Pennsylvania. And by big, I mean it's like 2%, but still that's pretty big.
Right, recognizing the significance even in a small percentage change.
Exactly. They instinctively recognized that even a seemingly small 2% lead in such a pivotal state, given their earlier analysis, was a major indicator.
Building momentum.
The hosts even expressed palpable excitement about a shift in a traditionally swing state, exclaiming, "Nevada leaning red, hallelujah!" This wasn't just, reporting the numbers. It felt like they were predicting the very direction of the race based on these early signs.
Well, what's truly compelling here is how these individual state movements, as they were being called live, they collectively built towards this larger narrative that the average intelligence hosts seemed to anticipate from the very beginning.
Yeah.
This culminated in their bold statement: Donald Trump has won, effectively, although not officially, the 47th president of the United States.
Quite a call to make live.
Absolutely. And look, this wasn't just a lucky guess or some partisan hope. It was deeply rooted in their earlier understanding of unconventional voter turnout and how those low-propensity voters, even in what might seem like numerically small, isolated instances, could indeed tip the scales in crucial battleground states.
Right.
It highlights that a profound understanding of underlying voter behavior and demographic shifts, even seemingly minor details like the Amish turnout in Pennsylvania, can lead to incredibly accurate forecasts when traditional models are failing to capture the full picture. It's about recognizing the quiet signals amidst all the loud noise.
For you, the listener, this offers a powerful lesson. How seemingly small, early indicators, often dismissed or overlooked by mainstream analysis, can actually reveal much larger overarching trends.
Yeah.
It certainly encourages critical thinking about election analysis beyond the standard narratives, prompting you to consider what data points are truly significant versus those that are just part of the conventional noise. It's about developing a keen eye for the underlying currents, rather than just, riding the waves of daily headlines.
And this brings up an important question, too. What does it mean when predictions about various political outcomes, even those favoring opposing candidates, consistently materialize? It suggests a strong, comprehensive grasp of the entire political landscape, not just a partisan focus.
They didn't shy away from calling Virginia marginally blue again, even as they tracked other states leaning red. This breadth of accurate calls, spanning across the political divide, truly underscores a deep analytical approach rather than simple partisanship.
Yeah, it's impressive.
It prompts you, the listener, to consider how understanding these subtle, often overlooked shifts in voter behavior can make you a far more informed observer of future elections, regardless of your political leanings or preferred outcomes. It's about seeing the intricate patterns and the true flow of the electorate, not just the easily identifiable party colors on a map.
Well said. What else? The outline mentions taxes and tariffs.
Oh yeah, they definitely had thoughts there. One host got pretty personal about property taxes, that we were paying like 1.5%, even with a homestead exemption, called it excessive, like $3,000 a year.
Ouch. Yeah, that hits home for a lot of people.
But then, interestingly, the discussion shifted. It wasn't about hating taxes in general, but more about government spending being wasteful and inefficient, as they put it.
So fix the spending, and maybe taxes wouldn't need to be so high.
That was the argument. One host even framed it as a more libertarian stance. Less government intervention, less need for taxes.
Interesting nuance there. And tariffs. That's always a hot topic.
Yeah, they brought up Ben Shapiro's idea, apparently, that Trump proposed using tariffs instead of income tax, which is quite a radical thought.
Whoa, yeah. Definitely outside the mainstream.
And then they kind of went off on how, quote, people don't understand how they fucking work. Pretty blunt.
Okay, so what was their explanation then? If it's not just bad for the consumer.
Their point was, it's complicated. It depends on the product, the cost, if there's American competition, and importantly, the reason for the tariff.
Right.
They used Trump's tariffs on Chinese goods as the example, argued the goal was to shift manufacturing out of China, maybe back to the U.S. or elsewhere.
And did they think it worked?
They argued it did, yeah. Even pointed out that U.S. exports to China actually went up in 2019. So definitely not the simple story you often hear.
What about other controversial points? The outline mentions something about immigration strategy.
Yeah. They discussed this alleged Democratic strategy, referencing Elon Musk's comments, apparently, about speeding up citizenship for undocumented immigrants
Okay.
and placing them in battleground states. Highly charged topic, obviously. Raises questions about motivations behind policy.
And they debated how those potential new voters might perceive things.
Yeah, like would they recognize certain political tactics, maybe from experiences in their home countries, or would it all seem normal? Comparing it to people from Venezuela, for instance. Interesting psychological angle.
Definitely complex. Any lighter moments in those 6 hours?
Oh, for sure. They had this funny observation about the Montana-Idaho border looking like Joe Biden sniffing Idaho.
Chuckles.
Okay.
That's pretty random.
Little bits of humor like that break the tension.
Gotcha. What about their commentary on political figures or styles?
They had a pretty sharp take on Charlie Kirk's debate style. Said he evolved from being, like, emotional to letting opponents kind of hang themselves with their own words. While he presented himself as just informed, they thought that was way more effective for actually changing minds. A bit of meta-commentary on persuasion.
Interesting. And they compared Trump and Biden's foreign policy.
Yeah, pretty starkly. Highlighted Trump's Middle East deals versus Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal and the two conflicts that started. Their take was Trump's actions were better for America's global standing. A very direct comparison of outcomes.
And what was that about celebrities running for president?
Oh, right. They kicked around the idea of The Rock running. Could they actually break through the partisan divide?
The eternal question.
And their hot take, kind of funny but pointed, was that even someone universally liked, like The Rock, the Democrats would probably still find a way to generate anti-Rock hate just to keep party lines intact.
Oof. A pretty cynical view of modern politics.
Yeah, suggests tribalism trumps almost everything. They also observed how the perception of extremism shifts. Like, Republicans used to be seen as the ones talking about censoring speech, but now they felt Democrats were looking more authoritarian.
That's a provocative thought on shifting narratives.
Definitely. They even gave minor candidates like Jill Stein and Chase Oliver a mention, noting Oliver actually got slightly more votes. Shows they were paying attention to the small details, too.
And someone coined wokey.
Chuckles. Yeah, one of the hosts apparently drawing a parallel to Andrew Tate's broy. Just a casual throwaway line, but typical of their style.
There was also a dark humor joke mentioned.
Yeah, about Biden's granddaughter's pregnancy. Definitely pushing the envelope there. Edgy, unfiltered commentary is kind of their brand, for better or worse.
Okay. Shifting back to policy, Social Security, healthcare.
Yeah, they touched on privatizing Social Security as one possible idea for retirement costs. A huge, complex topic.
For sure.
And they definitely hit on healthcare costs. Used a listener example, someone paying over $300 a month in California, plus $50 copays. Makes the abstract problem very real.
Absolutely. And that tax unrealized gains idea.
Oh, they were strongly against that. It's not real money until you sell the asset.
Right, the liquidity issue.
Yeah.
Taxing something you haven't actually converted to cash.
Exactly. They felt it would fundamentally change how wealth is handled. And one host voiced a pretty extreme concern that a Kamala presidency might lead to war on home soil, citing Elon Musk believing something similar.
Wow, that's quite a prediction. Stark.
Definitely reflects a certain level of anxiety out there, but then the show could pivot really quickly. Like suddenly they're debating Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
Lafayette's. Talk about a change in pace.
Totally. One host really wanted Tyson to win by KO, but thought Paul would win on decision, questioned Tyson's motives, ego, or money. The other just wanted Tyson to, quote, slap the shit out of Paul for the cash.
Classic fight commentary.
And then total randomness, nostalgia for discontinued Doritos BB2 chips from Canada.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. That's incredibly specific.
Right. Or noticing that UK Fanta looks like actual fucking orange juice compared to the US version. Just those little observational bits.
Humanizes them.
Yeah. And one host hating the sound of their own voice. Relatable. Plus an impromptu song idea about grocery prices.
Chuckles. Catchy.
And mentions of gummies kicking in adds to the live, unscripted feel.
Towards the end, though, sounds like frustration was setting in. Dominion machines, slow counts.
Yeah, especially with Arizona and Nevada, tapped into that common feeling of impatience waiting for results.
And then the final call.
Yeah, the eventual announcement that Donald Trump had effectively won the 47th presidency, kind of the climax of the 6 hours.
And a final thought on economics.
A really interesting one. Economic strife makes people understand economics. Basically, when times are tough, people pay more attention to how presidential decisions affect their wallets, the market.
Makes sense. You feel it directly.
Exactly. Oh, and a random note that sports betting is illegal in California, and a hint that the Senate might flip too. So just wall-to-wall coverage.
Yep. Incredible. What a marathon. Okay, let's take a short break here.
Stop wasting your time on manually editing your videos. The secret AI tool will do the work for you. One of the best things about it is that it gives your video the potential to go viral. Visit this page, sign in, create a project by clicking on this button. Choose a video that you want to use. Click on the AI clip button. Wait for the magic. It is scanning through the video and looking for the parts that has the potential to go viral. Instead of editing the video by yourself, it does the work for you. It even generates headline and captions which fit your video. Another surprise is that they generate video description or social post for you to use. Once done, click Export to Post.
All right, we're back. Moving on to the second episode on the list. DBZ narrator passes and Dragon Ball Daima. This sounds like a very different vibe.
Completely different. This one clearly tapped into deep fan nostalgia, sparked by the sad news about the original Dragon Ball Z narrator passing away.
Yeah, that hits right in the childhood for a lot of people.
Totally. It was a space for them to connect over something they were obviously passionate about. Shows the power of those shared memories, you know?
And it highlights voice actors, right? People who are often kind of invisible but have such a huge impact.
Absolutely. You hear those voices for years, they become part of the fabric of the show, and maybe you don't even know their names until something like this happens.
It's true. Did they know who it was right away?
Actually, no. That was part of the discussion. There was confusion about which narrator it was. Turned out to be the Ocean Group one from the early episodes.
Ah, the Canadian dub.
Yeah. And it led to this realization, like, nobody knew the guy's name until today, even though his voice was so iconic for people who grew up with that version.
Wow. Speaks volumes about recognition, or lack thereof.
It really does. And that led to this deeper concern about Masako Nozawa, the Japanese voice of Goku.
A true legend. Still doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. One host literally wished she was immortal, called her an absolute favorite, even over Sean Schemmel, shows her status in the global fandom.
Deservedly so. Did they mention any other favorite voice actors?
Yeah, Peter Keelis, who voiced Pearls in one of the movies, got a shout-out as a favorite from that Ocean dub era. Nice to see those specific acknowledgments.
What about controversial recordings? The outline mentions something potentially dicey.
Ah, yeah. They discussed these old rumors about DBZ cast recordings, supposedly outtakes where the actors were messing around, maybe using offensive language.
Oh, boy.
And they wrestled with whether those were real or maybe early AI fakes. Touches on that whole issue of authenticity, online rumors, deepfakes.
Yeah.
It's relevant.
Definitely. And what about Sean Schemmel, the main English Goku?
They had a pretty nuanced take. One host said they liked his voice for Goku, but didn't like his acting as much.
Okay, interesting distinction.
The other loved his King Kai voice, but felt Schemmel himself came across as a kind of a douche in real life, maybe a bit high and mighty.
So separating the art from the artist? Or struggling to.
Yeah, exactly that. That disconnect fans sometimes feel.
And then Dragon Ball Evolution, the live-action movie everyone hates.
Chuckles, yeah.
Yeah.
Hilariously, they credited that disaster of a movie as the thing that actually launched one of the hosts and his friend onto the internet. It was their first ever online review.
That's amazing. Failure breeds success, I guess.
Sometimes. It led to a tangent about another obscure movie, Vulgar. They said it had balls, technically, but a horrendous script about a joke stripper clown.
Okay. Sounds unique.
Definitely niche, but then they pivoted hard to streaming services. Netflix, specifically.
What was the hot take there?
Netflix making power moves. They cited getting WWE Monday Night Raw live starting in 2025, big shift to live events.
Yeah, that's a game changer.
And they corrected themselves. It wasn't a Mayweather-Jake Paul fight, but the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight that Netflix streamed. Call it way less of a circus than maybe the Mayweather one would have been. Still, a major live sports play.
Netflix is really pushing boundaries. What about anime?
They confirmed the Ranma 12 reboot coming to Netflix and pointed out Netflix is moving towards that simulcast cast model for anime, trying to release episodes close to the Japanese air date like Crunchyroll does.
Competing directly then. Speaking of Crunchyroll, they weren't fans.
Strong opinions there. Called it a service that sucked, then got really good, and then it sucks again.
Truckle's roller coaster.
They liked the content, but slammed the literal streaming infrastructure itself as broken and garbagey. Common complaint, right? Great shows, terrible app.
Very common. Compared it to Funimation.
Yeah. One thought Funimation's app was better, but the other countered that it was inconsistent across devices. Phone good, smart TV bad, memory issues. The usual streaming woes, same with Bleacher Report and Tubi, apparently.
It's frustrating how inconsistent it can be.
And that led to maybe the biggest hot take of the segment. Hulu started this shit.
Meaning?
Their argument was streaming services lured everyone away from cable with promises of no ads, then slowly brought ads back, even making you pay for ad-supported tiers, called them fucking geniuses for pulling it off.
A pretty cynical but relatable take on how streaming evolved.
Definitely captures that feeling of a bait and switch, though one host offered a counterpoint they'd downgraded to the cheaper Netflix plan with ads.
And they didn't mind.
Said they actually found ads useful for discovering new shows. So not everyone hates them, surprisingly.
Fair enough. Back to Dragon Ball Super. They liked the dub.
Yeah, lots of praise for Christopher Sabat's work. Said it included really funny stuff, even referencing Team 4-Star.
The abridged series, guys.
Yeah, and Sabat apparently gave them bit roles in the Xenoverse games. Cool example of official creators embracing fan works.
That is cool.
They also mention a controversial cut-for-air scene from the Boo Saga featuring Team 4-Star actors that Toei, the Japanese studio, hated, but it got leaked online anyway, shows the tension between official control and fan creativity.
Always a balancing act. Then there was a comment about Sabat's appearance.
Yeah, that was odd. One host joked he looked so much like Harvey Weinstein and acts just like him, calling him Mr. Couch, Casting Couch himself. Definitely edgy humor, maybe crossing a line for some.
Yikes. But they praised other VAs, too.
Oh, yeah. Huge tribute to Chris Ayres, the voice of Frieza, called him the best voice ever. And love for Linda Young's Frieza, too, the chain-smoking voice.
Christian Ayres, both iconic.
Totally. And they linked Team 4-Star's Frieza to Chris Ayres doing a Vegeta impression. Lots of deep-cut appreciation.
What about character stuff? Krillin got some love.
Yeah, highlighted his underappreciated role. Always good to see Krillin get his due.
He tries hard.
He does. And they had this funny moment realizing some weird Namekian facts. No genitals, only drink water, fusion forbidden were actually from the original show, not just jokes from the abridged series.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
When the parody becomes reality in your head.
Exactly. Shows how influential Team 4-Star was. And they loved abridged Vegeta, the arrogance followed by immediate humiliation.
Classic Vegeta.
Recalled specific lines, too, like calling Android 18 an oversized washing machine, then immediately getting wrecked and asking for the number of that bitch 18. Just pure gold for fans.
Sounds like a really fun episode for anyone into Dragon Ball.
Definitely. A great mix of nostalgia, humor, and some surprisingly sharp takes on the industry.
Okay, episode 3. Fact-checking the Harris-Trump debate. Back to politics. And a very specific mission here.
Yeah, this one was all about verification. Their stated goal was to fact-check definitive claims made in that debate using verifiable sources, very transparent approach.
And they used sources across the board, not just one side.
That was the claim. Mentioned using Snopes, PBS, aiming for impartiality, or at least showing their work from different perspectives.
And they used video.
Yeah, inlay of video, the notes say. So you could actually see the clip of the claim being made, then presumably see the evidence they used to check it. Pretty innovative format for audio-focused analysis.
Definitely enhances the fact-checking. So what claims did they tackle? Moderator bias.
The claim was the moderator, Lindsay Davis, was Kamala Harris's sorority sister. They ruled it partially true. Same sorority, different schools, different times. Acknowledged alumni connections could exist, though. Nuanced.
Okay. What about leaked debate questions? That's always a big accusation.
Yeah, the allegation was an ABC insider shared questions with Harris, their verdict. Unknown at this time, based on a redacted whistleblower claim. Sometimes you just can't confirm things definitively.
True. Let's get into the economic claims. Trump's tax cuts.
They acknowledged the argument that they benefited the rich more, but they added context that's partly just how percentage-based tax brackets work on higher incomes. So not necessarily false, but maybe disingenuous framing.
Understanding the mechanics matters. Tariffs again.
Yep. Reiterated their point.
Yeah.
Not literally a direct tax on the consumer. They specifically fact-checked Harris's claim that Trump's tariffs would cost families $4,000 extra per year. Ruled false, said the impact varies hugely by household. Then came a key hot take.
Let's hear.
That the Biden administration actually kept the Trump tariffs and even added more, like on EVs. One host found that really ironic, given the administration's green focus. Highlights policy reality versus rhetoric.
Interesting point about consistency. What about inflation under Trump?
Trump claimed no inflation. They ruled that ignorant false, flat out.
Yeah.
But they did clarify he had low inflation, just not zero. Important distinction between exaggeration and reality.
And the stock market.
They use specific DOW numbers to show growth under Trump. Citing actual data like that adds weight, moves beyond just claims.
Good practice. PPE production during the pandemic.
Trump claimed America made PPE for the world. They called this partially true. U.S. production did ramp up, exports happened, but they added crucial context.
Which was?
That exports contributed to domestic shortages because the national stockpile had been depleted under Obama and wasn't significantly refilled before the pandemic hit. Full picture is complex.
Always more to the story? Job growth under Biden. The bounce back argument.
Also partially true. Yes, 15.6 million jobs gained. But about 9 million were jobs lost during the pandemic coming back. So more than half was recovery, not purely new growth. Nuance matters.
Absolutely. What about the Goldman Sachs report claim?
Harris claimed Goldman Sachs said Trump's plan was bad, hers was good. They ruled this mostly false, said the CEO stated the difference was tiny, like 0.2%. And they threw in that Goldman Sachs got a bailout in '08, hinting at potential bias.
Questioning the source, okay. Trump's claimed 90% economic approval.
Mostly false. Polls showed more like 60-ish% approval,
Yeah.
correcting the number while still acknowledging positive sentiment.
Trade deficit claims. Harris said Trump had the highest ever.
Mostly false. Trump's was high, yes. But George W. Bush had bigger deficits in his last years. And crucially, the Biden-Harris deficits in 21-23 were even bigger, with 22 setting a record. Historical context is key.
Definitely changes the perspective. What about selling American chips to China?
Harris claimed Trump did that. They ruled it almost completely false. Said Trump's administration actively prevented it, blocked purchases, revoked licenses for Huawei suppliers, blacklisted Chinese manufacturers. Direct contradiction based on policy actions.
Strong counter evidence there. And they included a direct Trump quote.
Yeah, about putting a 100% tariff on every single car made by Chinese companies in Mexico. Said they won't be able to sell those cars. Very direct threat. And he threatened a bloodbath for the whole country if he lost, urging companies to build in the U.S. instead. Raw stuff.
Captures his style, for sure. What was the most egregious false claim they found?
Harris attributing a claim to Biden that after Afghanistan, no U.S. military were in active combat zones anywhere.
That wasn't true.
They showed video evidence, apparently, of active combat zones across the Middle East and surrounding areas, called it clueless, a major discrepancy with reality.
Wow. Seems like a thorough fact check overall.
Yeah, one of the hosts even mentioned feeling proud of the process, especially integrating the video, shows their commitment to that format.
Okay, next up, episode 4, is Matt Walsh's Am I Racist? Racist. This sounds like it wades into some very tricky territory.
Oh, absolutely. Directly tackling a controversial documentary, pushing listeners to think critically about racism, comedy, and where they intersect.
And they didn't just give a simple yes-no answer.
No, that was key. They aimed for a nuanced analysis of whether the film itself was racist, which encourages much deeper thought than a quick judgment.
How do they approach the film's tone? It's Walsh, so comedy is involved.
Exactly. They deconstructed the comedic approach and how that affects its credibility as a documentary. Their main hot take was that it's not really a documentary, more like a comedy or a mockumentary.
So, intended to be funny first.
That was their assessment. Said it works quite well as comedy, and noted it was marketed that way. Crucial context for how you interpret it.
So the big question. Did they think the film was racist?
Their conclusion was not overtly racist, but they felt it had moments that could give the wrong impression. They attributed this largely to Walsh's style, which they described as lacking empathy. Kind of Matt Walsh's Mo, as they put it.
His usual approach then.
Yeah. The film suggested people just follow the loudest voice, the prevailing narrative. And one host had a pretty provocative interpretation.
Which was?
That the movie basically pointed out how racist the white liberals are, particularly in how they approach things, sometimes leading to segregationist outcomes, in their view.
That's a strong claim about the film's effect. How did they break down the actual content? Specific scenes?
Yeah, they went through several bits. Criticized the opening coffee shop scene, Walsh internally debating if black coffee is racist as obviously staged and over the top, designed to show liberals going too far.
Okay, what else?
The spreading out the whiteness exercise, they found that just baffling. The kid on the street with the DEI card who called Walsh racist, they suspected he might have been a plant, seemed a little too perfect.
Questioning the authenticity of some interactions.
Right. Same with the white fragility group therapy session, maybe staged or reenacted. They also noted visual details like no black people in a biker bar scene or a possible white supremacy tattoo glimpsed elsewhere. Subtle stuff.
And the I'm not racist Brett trope.
Big focus. They talked about interviewees using that exact phrase before saying something prejudiced, said it immediately made them distrust the speaker. It's such a common red flag.
Definitely. What was the race to dinner thing? That sounds intense.
Oh, it's wild. Apparently a real concept where you pay 2 women, 1 black, 1 Indian, to come to dinner and literally call you racist.
You pay for that. Seriously.
Apparently. They dug into the Indian woman's claim of having used to be white and having 4% Indian DNA, trying to figure out what she meant passing. Living in a white world, they found both women facilitating it horribly racist.
Just layers of absurdity there. And Walsh went undercover.
Yeah, as a caterer. They highlighted the physical comedy, spilling water, dropping plates, pushing doors with his feet, saying he was embodying the stereotype of the clueless white man for comedic effect.
Performance art, almost.
Kind of. And the climax was him raising a glass to racism and others at the table joining in, completely missing the satire. Memorable for its awkwardness and dark humor.
Wow. They also critiqued Robin DiAngelo.
Yeah, they liked Walsh's bit where he uses role play to show the absurdity and logical fallacy in some of her points. Like being upset if someone smiles too much or not enough.
The microaggression arguments.
Right. Their take was, if the gradation of someone's smile is legitimately affecting your day, then there's something wrong with you. Pretty direct challenge to that framework.
Any broader comments on racism?
One host mentioned getting called racist online and thinking, if you only knew. And they brought up Morgan Freeman's view, stop talking about it to make it go away. Noted it sounds different coming from him versus a white person. Causes that, reaction.
Context matters. Any random tangents in this one?
A few. One host uses Wolf of Wall Street for stock trading inspo. Another mentions sick, fat, and nearly dead for juice fasting. Personal quirks.
Adds flavor. And they talked about South Park.
Yeah, praised Trey Parker and Matt Stone's humor. So their approach is you have to lean into stereotypes because the message is that the stereotypes themselves are stupid. A defense of edgy comedy having a purpose.
Interesting take on satire. Okay, one more episode to go after a quick break.
Welcome back. We're diving into the 5th and final episode in this analysis. Second Republican presidential debate, live, #reaction, #GOP, another live redaction show.
Exactly. So, again, unfiltered, immediate commentary on a major political event, engaging with policy points as they happen.
And focusing on perceived hypocrisy or broken promises.
That seems to be a running theme in their political analysis, yeah. Looking beyond the surface rhetoric.
Okay, what were the key hot takes or discussions here? Immigration first. Yep. Started with a critique of the $55 billion spent trying to fix the root causes of migration in other countries. Their argument, it's not working because the numbers are still growing.
So questioning the effectiveness of that foreign aid approach.
Directly. And they put the blame on Joe Biden for, as they put it, waving the green flag, which they claimed led to 6 million border crossings and linked it to fentanyl deaths, exceeding combined war casualties from Iraq, Vietnam, and Afghanistan. Very stark framing.
Wow. Did they offer solutions?
Oh, yeah. Very specific ones. Defund sanctuary cities, add 25,000 more Border Patrol and ICE agents, and switch from catch and release to catch and deport. hardline proposals.
Clear stance there. What about Congress?
Expressed deep frustration that Congress only passed a budget on time 4 times in 40 years. Incredible statistic, really.
Depressing.
Led to discussing the no pay, no budget idea. Popular, sure, but they acknowledge you can't do that constitutionally. That gap between popular fixes and legal reality again.
Right. What about politician sincerity? Vivek Ramaswamy got called out.
Yeah, for his claim that everyone else on stage was bought and paid for except him. One host just said it wasn't true, compared it to Hillary Clinton denying things that were clearly on record, again, pushing back against what they saw as disingenuous claims.
Any lighter observations? Matt Gaetz's eyebrows.
Chuckles. Yeah, described him as having Satan eyebrows, looking like a vampire from Buffy. Classic average intelligence color commentary. Mentioned Kevin Sorbo, too, randomly.
Keeps it from getting too dry. Did they talk about Rumble?
Yeah, analyzed Rumble's efforts to compete with YouTube, praised expanding beyond video as smart, but also said the platform itself is not as friendly as YouTube. Balanced take on an alternative platform's challenges.
And tariffs came up again.
Yes, but with more detail. They reiterated that Trump's tariffs shifted manufacturing from China, but specifically highlighted Mexico as a key destination, along with other emerging economies.
And one host had direct experience with this.
This was compelling. Said they work in the cabinet industry, and about half their manufacturers moved to Mexico. The result: prices came down, lead times dropped from months to weeks.
Wow, that's concrete. Why?
Savings on shipping, apparently. Even with slightly higher labor costs, the shorter shipping distance made it cheaper overall. Really strong real-world example backing up their broader point about supply chains shifting.
Fascinating firsthand account. What about Trump's legal issues?
They discussed whether an indictment stops someone running? No. Versus a conviction? Answer, maybe. Hot take was Trump's track record of not getting convicted despite many charges.
Which led to
A call for all his court cases to be televised. Like the Rittenhouse trial, their argument. Transparency combats misinformation, lets people see for themselves.
interesting proposal for dealing with high-profile cases.
Yeah. Oh, and they joked about the misconception of literal animal coyotes smuggling people. A little bit of humor about common misunderstanding.
Gotcha. And the president's job isn't difficult.
Chuckles. Yeah, that was a bold claim. Really not that difficult. Definitely challenges the usual narrative around the presidency.
Provocative, to say the least. And they defended presidential vacations.
Kind of. Expressed annoyance at people complaining about Obama, Trump, Clinton playing golf or taking time off. The gist was, if the economy's good, who cares? All Trump did was play golf 4 more years, brother. As long as things were running well. Performance over perception.
Pragmatic view. And a final gripe about online critics.
Yeah, frustration with people commenting on content without actually engaging with it fully, just wanting to hear their own voices. Relatable for anyone who puts stuff out there online.
Absolutely. Well, that covers the 5 episodes. Quite a journey.
Definitely. From 6-hour election marathons to anime nostalgia to fact-checking debates. A really wide range.
What an incredible range of conversations we've explored today. From the intensity of election night calls and economic policy debates to the nuanced discussions around identity and the surprising realities of the animation world. It's truly a testament to the diverse interests and analytical approaches of the Average Intelligence Show.
Indeed. What truly stands out across all these segments is how the Average Intelligence Show consistently managed to make complex, multifaceted topics approachable and really engaging. They truly excelled at taking varied source material, whether it was real-time election data, a controversial documentary, or a beloved anime series, and meticulously extracting unique, often counterintuitive insights from them.
Yeah, you really can hear their authentic reactions, their personal takes woven all the way through. It's clear they weren't just, phoning it in. They loved digging into these topics. That genuine enthusiasm, it's pretty contagious, right? Probably a big reason these episodes were so popular.
Absolutely. And this whole exploration, looking at how they approach these different topics, it raises a really interesting question for you, our listener. In today's world, just flooded with information, what do you find is the best way to actually become well-informed? Is it that raw, unfiltered reaction like the live shows? Is it the careful source-checking breakdown? Or is it maybe that blend of personal stories and deeper analysis? Something to think about.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us on this Look into the Average Intelligence podcast's most popular discussions. We hope you feel maybe a little more in the know and perhaps even had an aha moment or two along the way.
Yeah, and we encourage you to think about how all these different conversations, politics, culture, economics, even cartoons, how they all connect back to critical thinking in your own life. How do we make sense of it all? Lots to ponder.